A shadow across time: drug addiction through history. Drug addiction is not new. It has plagued humanity for centuries. From opium dens in ancient civilizations to the modern opioid crisis, it's a global issue. Understanding its history is crucial. It helps us see addiction not as a moral failing but as a complex health issue. Throughout history, drugs have been used for medicinal, recreational, and even spiritual purposes. However, their addictive properties have always cast a shadow. Ancient Egyptians used opium. Incas utilized coca leaves. These practices highlight the long-standing relationship between humans and psychoactive substances. The 19th century saw a rise in the production and distribution of drugs like morphine and heroin. This led to increased addiction rates. The war on drugs launched in the 20th century aimed to tackle the issue through criminalization. However, it had unintended consequences. It often exacerbated the problem. By understanding the historical context of drug addiction, we can better comprehend its current state. It allows us to learn from past mistakes and develop more effective strategies for prevention and treatment. The ripple effect: societal impacts of addiction. Drug addiction's impact extends far beyond the individual. It sends shockwaves through families, communities, and entire societies. The economic burden of drug abuse is staggering. It includes healthcare costs, lost productivity, and criminal justice expenses. Addiction fuels crime. Individuals may resort to theft or other illegal activities to support their habits. This creates an environment of fear and distrust within communities. The strain on law enforcement and the justice system is immense. Families torn apart, children growing up in homes ravaged by addiction. These are just some of the devastating social consequences of drug abuse. Addressing these issues requires a multi-pronged approach. This approach must involve prevention, treatment, and support services. Beyond the economic and social costs, drug addiction erodes the very fabric of society. It undermines trust, fuels stigma, and perpetuates cycles of poverty and despair. Lost potential: the personal cost of drug dependence. On a personal level, drug addiction is a destructive force. It hijacks the brain, rewiring its reward system and leading to an overwhelming compulsion to use drugs. This compulsion overrides everything else: health, relationships, career, and even basic survival instincts. The physical toll of addiction can be devastating. It can lead to a range of health problems, from heart and liver damage to respiratory issues and infectious diseases. The risk of overdose is ever present, a constant shadow looming over the individual and their loved ones. Addiction also takes a heavy toll on mental health. It can worsen pre-existing conditions like anxiety and depression and increase the risk of suicidal thoughts and behaviors. The shame and guilt associated with addiction can be crippling, leading to isolation and despair. Drug addiction robs individuals of their potential. It steals their dreams, their aspirations, and their ability to live full and meaningful lives. It's a cruel disease that traps people in a cycle of craving and use, stripping them of their dignity and their hope. Section 4. Beyond the statistics. Real lives, real stories. Behind the statistics and the medical jargon are real people whose lives have been touched by addiction. These are mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, friends, and colleagues, each one with their own unique story of struggle and resilience. There's the story of the young athlete whose promising career was cut short by an injury that led to opioid addiction. The single parent who turned to drugs to cope with the overwhelming stress of raising children alone. The artist whose creativity became stifled by their dependence on substances. These stories remind us that addiction does not discriminate. It can affect anyone, regardless of their background, socioeconomic status, or profession. It's important to remember that behind every statistic is a human being deserving of compassion, understanding, and support. By sharing these stories, we can break down the stigma surrounding addiction and create a more empathetic and supportive environment for those who are struggling. Section 5. Breaking the silence: the importance of awareness and understanding. Awareness is the first step towards tackling the complex issue of drug addiction. By increasing public understanding of addiction as a health issue, rather than a moral failing, we can reduce the stigma and discrimination that prevent individuals from seeking help. Education plays a crucial role in prevention. By teaching young people about the risks and consequences of drug use, we can empower them to make informed decisions and develop healthy coping mechanisms. We need open conversations about drugs and addiction in homes, schools, and communities. It's also important to raise awareness about the signs and symptoms of addiction. Early intervention is crucial. The sooner someone receives help, the better their chances of recovery. We must encourage those who are struggling to reach out for support. Awareness campaigns, community outreach programs, and media representation can all play a role in breaking down the stigma and fostering a more compassionate and understanding society. Section 6. Hope on the Horizon, Pathways to Recovery and Support. Recovery from drug addiction is possible. It's a journey that requires courage, determination, and a strong support system. There are many different pathways to recovery, and what works for one person may not work for another. Treatment options include medication-assisted treatment, behavioral therapies, and support groups. Medication can help manage withdrawal symptoms and cravings, while therapy provides individuals with the tools to address the underlying causes of their addiction. Support groups offer a safe and non-judgmental space for individuals in recovery to connect with others who understand their struggles. Family and friends can play a vital role in supporting loved ones through their recovery journey. Recovery is not a linear process. There will be setbacks and challenges along the way, but with the right support, individuals can overcome these obstacles and build a brighter future for themselves. Section 7. A collective responsibility, building a brighter future. Addressing the complex issue of drug addiction is a collective responsibility. It requires a collaborative effort from individuals, communities, healthcare providers, policymakers, and law enforcement. We need to invest in prevention programs, expand access to evidence-based treatment, and support those in recovery. This includes addressing the social determinants of health that contribute to addiction, such as poverty, trauma, and lack of access to healthcare. It's time to move away from punitive approaches that criminalize addiction and instead focus on compassionate and effective solutions. By treating addiction as a health issue, we can break down the stigma, reduce harm, and create a more just and equitable society for all. Together, we can build a brighter future where everyone has the opportunity to live a healthy, fulfilling life, free from the grip of addiction.